everybody, Wendt here, a business coach for female entrepreneurs. Today I'm going to be walking you through a really informal yet jam-packed training, and I'm going to show you how to make $2,700 per day. I'm going to walk you through what we do to make at least $3,000 every single day. Now, I've got a couple things here. I've got my notes over here, so you'll see me occasionally checking my notes over here. I've got an iPad that I'm going to be drawing on. I'm going to try to not mess up, but if we do, no worries. We're just going to do this one take. So the first thing that I want to do as we talk about how to make $2,700 in a single day is talk about the belief, the mindset. Because most of you watching this, let's be real, part of you doubts that you can actually make $2,700 per day. So the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to draw a little circle here, and then we're just going to put 2,700 in the middle because that's our goal. We want to make 2,700, we're going to put it right in the middle. First thing that we need to do is we need to talk about the mindset. Now, I'm not a mindset coach. This is not a mindset training. This is a business training showing you how to make $2,700 in a day. However, what I will say is if you don't believe it's possible for you, you're not going to do it. You're not going to take action on it. You're not going to take any kind of momentum or any kind of movement on it. So it's really important that you do the inner work, the mindset work, the healing work, the gratitude work, whatever you need to do to really feel confident and solid in your belief that you can and will make $27 in a day. Because if you don't believe it's possible, you're not going to do that. So that's the first thing. We have 6 things here. So I'm just going to draw like six little circle-y things here. All right. We got 6 things that we need to do if we're going to make 2,700. Second thing, after we've worked through the mindset stuff, is we need to pick one product. So I'm just going to write one product here. The font's a little large, but hopefully you can see it. One product to focus on scaling. Most people try to scale 8 things at once, and that's why nothing ever scales. That's why nothing ever works. It's because they're trying to scale 8 products at once. Instead, what you need to do is you need to buckle down, scale one product. I guarantee you about 80%, sadly, of the people watching this are not going to take this advice, and they're going to try to justify why they can scale more than one product. And by the way, when I say product, I mean program, offering, whatever it might be. They're going to try to scale more than one product to get to $2,700 per day, and that's the reason why they won't ever get to $2,700 per day. You've got to pick one product. I've got lots of trainings on what that looks like. I've got lots of different resources on going into more depth on that, but for the purpose of this little training here, this micro crash course, just understand that if you're serious about getting to $2,700 in a day, you've got to do that with one product. So next is you got to, let me zoom in here, let's do a little 3. You've got to remove the constraints. And I'm going to talk about what this means here in a second. My pen is glitching up. Here we go. There we go. I messed up. I clicked something on the iPad. So you've got to remove the constraints. Now, I have this belief that if a product is actually solving a problem for people, if a project is actually viable in the marketplace, if the market wants it, a product will naturally sell to its first constraint. And maybe when you launched a product, you experience this. Some people do, some people don't. But maybe you experienced launching a product and you sold it to like 3 or 4 people initially. And then it really didn't sell after that. Maybe you sold it a couple times and then you struggled to sell it consistently after that. Or we've had students before where they initially launched something and friends and family bought it to support it, but they, for the longest time, couldn't get a person who wasn't in their friends and family network to buy it. So I have this belief that if a product really solves a problem for people, it will naturally sell until it hits a constraint. And a constraint is like a block that's blocking the flow of money. So if we really zoom in here, and we do a little, I'm gonna make my pen go a little smaller. If we imagine that the flow of money is like this, your money will flow through that product until it hits a constraint, until it hits this thing, and this thing is keeping the money from flowing. So the third step that you need to do is one by one, remove your constraints. And on my notes here on my computer, I've got an example of what some of these constraints might be. So the question that, as we look at what could our constraints be, is what is keeping a lot of people from buying your product? What is currently keeping a lot of people from buying your program, from buying your offer, from buying your service? What is keeping a lot of people from buying your product? Now over here in my notes, I've got a couple things here. So first thing is your job, as you look to scale it, is to identify what the constraints are. In other words, what's keeping a lot of people from buying. So here's 3 examples of constraints, 3 examples of blocks that are keeping people from buying your program. First is selling your program one-to-one instead of one to many. So for example, are you enrolling your customers one at a time, or are you enrolling a bunch of customers at once? Are you enrolling one customer at a time on a sales call, or have you mastered webinars and you're enrolling 20 people with one webinar that's an hour of your time? So one of the biggest constraints to scaling a program and getting to that $2,700 per day is selling one-to-one versus one to many. Second constraint that most people have is they don't have enough people in your world. So if you don't have a little audience, that's a constraint. I have lots of other trainings on how to grow a huge audience. At the point of this filming, I have 250,000 incredible ideal clients who follow me. That's a lot of people in my world. I don't have a audience constraint because I've learned how to grow a really big audience. Second constraint could be not enough people in your world. Third constraint is the price point is a bad fit at scale. So there's a little notification that popped up here. Never mind, maybe I won't move this. I don't know, it's doing something funny. Either way. So you're gonna want to take a look and say, is your price point a bad fit at scale? You can get away with getting a couple people at any price point, but when you're trying to scale, that's when problems with pricing really start to pop up. So your price point could be too cheap, it could be too high. Either way, I noticed that the third most common constraint that people run into when they try to sell their program at scale is it's just not the right price point for the fit, right? It's not a good fit for the audience, it's not a good fit for them, it's a bad fit for their profit margins, they're not putting a ton of money into their bank, so they need to raise it, et cetera, et cetera. It's just one constraint that I noticed is that the price point is a bad fit at scale. So what I want to do is you want to look at your constraints, and then what you're going to do once you've identified them is you're going to go on to number 4, which is to continue to remove the constraints for a year. So I'm going to write 1 year. So that's the other thing that I notice a lot as people look to scale, right? Because what's $2,700 a day? It's $1 million a year, right? $2,700 is about, I think if I do the math right on that, let me just check, hold on. Let's pull up our calculator and check to make sure we did this right. I think it's $1 million a year. Times 365. Yeah, it's about $1 million a year. That's right. It's a little under $1 million a year. I think we rounded down. But essentially what you're trying to do here is you're trying to run $1 million business. And so people trying to go from 6 figures to 7 figures, one of the big things that they don't do is they don't focus up, right? So that's why we wrote 1 year. You've got to focus on removing these constraints over a longer period of time. If you're trying to remove a constraint in 2 days, it's just not going to happen. Because what happens is you remove one constraint and then another one pops up. So you got to remove that one and then another one pops up. And so you've really got to continue to remove your constraints, to work on, clearing these blocks, right? If we go back to that, that little analogy, that little visual that we created, if your money is flowing to you like a river and you've got this rock here that's keeping the money flowing from you, well, when you remove this one, another one's going to pop up, right? It's keeping your money flowing from you. So you got to remove that one. And the more you do this, the more money you'll make, but it takes time to do that, right? You've got to focus up for a while, which is why we say you need to focus on doing that for a year. What I want to do now is I want to, I'm looking at my notes here. Okay, so number 5 is I just want to do, if I'm zooming in here, it's a really fat font. I want to give you an example, okay? I've got GCN as an example, so we're just going to write the word example here, just so you can really understand what this process actually looks like. So I'm going to use my own product as an example, and that's GCN. And so here, GCN, my Get Clients Now program, it's my signature program. It teaches newer entrepreneurs how to get clients consistently. It's a really good program. We've had over 1,000 people run through it. It's incredible. It's a really good program. And I'm very proud of it, but we had a lot of constraints. There was a lot of things that we had to work on improving over the years. So first thing that I've written down is I want to talk a little bit about the pricing constraint that we removed. So we found out that we were charging too little. For the quality of the program that it is, we were charging just frankly not enough. And so our pricing constraint was we really can't scale this because we're not charging enough. So we raised the price and we instantly, if you remember that analogy of the little blocks, the money flowing with the line block, we instantly removed a constraint by raising the price by 50%. This gave us more room, this gave us more margin to scale, essentially. So we raised our price, we were charging too little, we raised it, we were able to scale it. Another constraint that we had with our delivery constraint, we added in extra support with other coaches so our students continue to see incredible results. We ran into a delivery constraint where we had so many students joining us, we just weren't able to deliver at the level we'd like to deliver. So we ran into a delivery constraint. We just added an extra support with coaches so that our students saw even more incredible results in the Get Clients Now program. And it was a great call. Our students just, it's incredible. It's almost unbelievable how well they do. And it's all because we fixed a delivery constraint. And of course, when you deliver a good program, people talk about it, they send other students to the program, and you grow very naturally just by having a good program. So we fixed our delivery constraint, and then we had an enrolling constraint where we were really enrolling customers or students into this Get Clients Now program one at a time, one at a time, one at a time, one at a time, and we fixed that. We added in a live webinar so we can enroll students a bunch at a time, 20 at a time, 30 at a time, 40 at a time. This allowed us to scale. In the meantime, if you're new to this channel, on this channel, I talk about ways to make money and get clients online. Be sure to like this video if you liked it and subscribe so you don't miss any videos that we make. We're doing 2 a week right now. We're gonna be doing 3 a week in the future. It's gonna be amazing, very high value. Subscribe so you don't miss. I'll see you in the next one.